think like the electronic music scene is so strong that it had to fill a void somehow. It had to find its voice in the chaos. And so we kind of started hearing electronic music in settings that we probably never did before.
LUPO.THEBOY is Newcastle's DJ and emotional dance producer, known for his uplifting, sample-heavy releases and passionate performances. Lupo has just dropped a brand new track called Grey On The Pavement, which features the debut of another local artist called HUUE. We caught up with Lupo to chat about his journey as a creator and to find out more about what he has coming up. I'd love to kick things off by asking about how you got into creating music.
Yeah. I have been around music all my life. My dad was a musician. Started, I think, like many people as a kid, getting piano lessons and doing that kind of stuff. And all I wanted to do was play drums. My mum fought against me getting a drum kit as a teenager, but finally folded and Dad got me a drum kit. And so drums are like my bread and butter.
Yeah.
And grew up playing in bands, grew up listening to a lot of hardcore music, just in that kind of scene. And then around like 15 or 16, I don't know what it was, I fell in love with dance music.
Yeah.
My uncle, a couple of years before, had bought me like a Ministry of Sound CD, like a Clubber's Guide CD, and I think it was the one that Call on Me by Eric Prydz was on. And yeah, I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And so me and a couple of mates downloaded like cracked versions of FL Studio and just started making the worst music in history.
You got to start somewhere,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of kept going from there. And yeah, it's always been something I've loved and enjoyed doing. And I've been lucky enough to keep doing it until now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really hard, like, to go from, you know, when you first start, actually making music that kind of sounds more expressive, if you know what I mean. Like, it can sound very rigid when you first start.
Definitely.
How did you go about finding your own sound?
Yeah, there's been so many iterations, and I think I'm lucky enough to have played in a lot of different bands and been with a lot of different groups that have delved between genres. That when it comes to my own stuff, there's a breadth of experiences that get to create that sound.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's just whatever feels right, and whatever's a bop is a bop. And
Yes.
It doesn't really matter if there's a structure. It doesn't really matter if it follows any kind of pattern. If I just like it, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the more recent things that you've released have had like vocal samples.
Yeah.
Where do you normally find them, or do you record them yourself?
Some of them I record myself.
Yeah.
Others, I did a podcast recently where I kind of came to this realization that I'm a sucker for hopecore videos.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay.
And I kind of had
That's
this like
beautiful,
existential like realization in the middle of the podcast. But yeah, a lot of it comes from that. I think a lot of it comes from just finding things that kind of make me feel emotional and then trying to use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favourite things about dance music, or probably the reason that I love it so much, is because it does make you feel so happy, and it usually does have very positive messages coming through it. So what was that when you had that realisation? What was your thought process after that?
Well, I think like traditionally, like you said, like dance music is something that's quite happy, it's quite upbeat. We usually listen to an environment where we're like partying or in a club or wanting to let loose. And during lockdown, we kind of didn't have those options available to us. And I think like the electronic music scene is so strong that it had to fill a void somehow, and it had to find its voice in the chaos. And so we kind of started hearing electronic music in settings that we probably never did before. Yeah. And I think people started to accept that it was something that can be the music you listen to like on the way to work. It can be the music that you listen to when you wake up in the morning, and it doesn't just have to be something that's just for clubs.
Yeah.
So that's what I love expressing, is like you can have this music which, you know, you might want to get down to in the club, but then also you might just want to like listen to while you're at home chilling out with your dog.
Definitely. Well, speaking of dogs, I'd love to know how you got your name.
So I wanted to call my dog Lupo, but I didn't have a dog at the time.
Yeah,
so
cool.
I thought when I was uploading my first like song to Spotify, I just kind of came up with it. And I'm like, well, I'm not a dog, I'm a boy. So I put Lupo the boy.
That's so good.
And then I got a dog and I couldn't call it Lupo because that'd be very self-indulgent.
It's such a bummer. What did you end up calling him?
Billy.
Billy.
Her name's Billy, yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a good name, though. It
is.
Billy and Lupo.
Billy and Lupo.
Yeah. You have a brand new single coming out this Thursday called Grey On The Pavement.
Yes.
Can you tell me about the song and what we can expect?
Yeah, so this one's probably a bit of a departure from some of the emotionally driven Cry in the Club music that I wrote before. It's something that is definitely a lot more dance floor friendly. Cool. I wrote it with an artist named HUUE, who's also a Newcastle artist. It's his debut release under that new project as well, which is really cool. We just did a single launch in Sydney on Saturday for it, and really excited for it to come out. It's been getting some really good love. In the pre-release, we sent it to a bunch of other DJs and other guys, and gotten some really mad support. So
awesome.
Yeah, excited for the world to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think sparked that evolution from going from making Crying in the Club?
Yeah, probably when you're DJing and performing, you want to make sure that what you're making in the studio resonates on the dance floor. And I think for myself, when you're doing sets that might start at 8 p.m. or you're doing sets that start at 2 a.m., you want to write stuff that really resonates at those set times and stuff you can play comfortably. And I think with this song, it's definitely something that's a little heavier, something a bit groovier, something that, it wouldn't matter if I dropped it at a day party or at 3 a.m. in the bush. It just works really well.
That's
so,
awesome.
I'm really excited for it to come out. It's been getting good reactions so far. So, yeah.
Yeah. And what do you love about collaborating?
I think coming up in the band world and that being my the way I started in music, I think that it definitely is rewarding to have people around you that can give you different perspectives on not only your music but different perspectives on the music that they're listening to and how you may perceive other artists' music. So there's always going to be something that they bring to the table that you have never thought of. For me, every song that I've put out has always been a collaborative effort. I think I send it to 30 or 40 mates even before I release it, just to get their opinion and, get mates together, and we have a big Discord that we chuck it in, and just everyone gives feedback and we, work on it together. So everything's kind of just a collaborative effort, which I think is really great, because then it is the involvement of a bunch of people in this one story, which is really cool.
That's incredible, because I'm sure it would or could be very isolating, creating electronic music when it is just you.
Yeah, it's not the most glamorous time when you're just kind of by yourself at 2 a.m.
Totally.
Scrolling through 100 kick drum sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. Do you have any gigs coming up?
So just had the single launch on Saturday. We were meant to have the party this weekend at Carrington, but that got unfortunately got cancelled.
Such a bummer.
So yeah, I think I got a couple of weeks off, which is pretty nice, and then I have some stuff in December. Off the top of my head, I can't actually remember, but New Year's Eve in Wollongong. I remember that. I'm doing New Year's Eve in Wollongong. So that'll be pretty fun.
Cool. What's the event called?
That is a really good question. I think I'm playing at Pepe's.
Ooh, nice.
I am playing at Pepe's.
Yes.
Which would be good. And then, that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of, I don't know there's been a lot of reshuffling and changes towards the end of the year with different events. And, I think it's a tough time for events. So
very tough.
Yeah, we're trying to lock some things in for the new year. Hopefully a tour in the January to March period next year. So
brilliant.
Yeah,
cool.
Should be fun.
Keen. Before I let you go, I'd love to know who are some local artists and musos that you've been listening to lately?
Yeah, really good question. I think we just had Newcastle Music Christmas at West Best Block Fest, so there's been so many great acts that we were checking out there. For me, Waylai, Caleb is always a huge inspiration. Cool. The versatility that he has working on all different types of music is so incredible, and he's someone that I really respect when it comes to his work ethic and knowledge and just his overall understanding of sound. HUUE, who I just released this new track with, again, someone who's a savant when it comes to electronic music and just playing. In the electronic world, Davey Rowe as well. I know you had Davey on. He's doing amazing things right now.
Killing it.
So there's been so many incredible electronic acts coming out of Newcastle recently.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
So ridiculous. Yeah. We've got Marnie as well, who's always putting on amazing events. She's killing it as well. Released a track a couple of weeks ago, which is like a halftime banger.
Yeah. Absolute legend.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in for a chat, and I can't wait to hear this brand new song.
Thank you. All right. Cheers.